Good evening, everybody. Thank you for everybody already in the chat room. Good evening to every single one of you. Thought we'd talk about Robert Pires today. I just read a report about an hour or so ago about Pires basically moaning that we've only got 40 million quid as a budget, and it's wound me up. I must admit, it has properly wound me up, to the point where I thought I'm going to have to speak about it. For somebody who has been involved in and around football for pretty much most of his life, I find it staggering that this guy can't understand the concept of transfers and how they work. Obviously, he played for Arsenal. He's played for Aston Villa in the Premier League as well. He's played for a variety of teams over his career, French international as well. And I'm going to read what he said rather than misquoting him. So give me a second, bear with me. Right, he has had this to say. He was speaking in an interview, and he has said, if you want to build a good team, you need to spend a lot of money, especially in the Premier League. Well, obviously, that's pretty standard, and let's be real, we earn a lot of money. I respect Arsenal's position and the owner, but everybody knows that if you want to win the Premier League, you need to spend a lot of money. All the top clubs sign great players, but if you want a great player, it costs a lot of money. Do you reckon things cost a lot of money? He's repeating himself quite a bit here. He then goes on to say, unfortunately, we lost Aaron Ramsey, Danny Welbeck, and we have to improve. We've got young players in the youth setup, headed up by Per Mertesacker. So maybe the solution, if Arsenal only have £40 million to spend, is to bring some young players and prepare. The opening line of that, let me just find it. He was talking about we have a small envelope of money, £40 million. Right, and this is what I find absolutely staggering from a guy that has spent most of his life involved in professional football. The fact that he can't grasp how transfers work. So I'm just going to basically break down how a transfer works for all of those that are living on the words of Robert Pires and all these media outlets that chat absolute crap. Afternoon, VP. They chat absolute rubbish, scaremongering. Every single report I read on a daily basis suggests that we've only got £40 million to spend. It's not a lot of money. You know, we are spending pittance every window and blah, 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 rubbish. Right, now, at the end of the day, Arsenal's income as a football club is around the £400 million mark. Right, now, we're only allowed to increase a wage bill under financial fair play by about 7%. Sorry, I'm lying, 7 million a season. Right, that's not just us. That is every single football club in the league. I'm not sure how it works lower down the table in different leagues and stuff like that. But Premier League, we're allowed to increase our wage bill by £7 million. So, for example, we've got rid of Lichtsteiner, we've got rid of Cech, we've got rid of Ramsey, we've got rid of Welbeck. Well, I say we've got rid of them, they've left. That takes £400,000 there or thereabouts off of the wage bill. So straight away, we can go and spend a hell of a lot of money on wages for players, right? Now, this £40 million, and this is what's wound me up with this geezer, is the fact that, like I said, he's been involved in football for a lot of his life. Most of his life, probably 3/4 or more of his life has been involved in football. And the majority of it has been involved in professional football. Right? So I'm going to use an example I used the other day for those that missed it. So bear with me if I'm going over old territory. But £40 million. Let's say we want Ryan Fraser. Let's say Ryan Fraser costs £25 million. Let's say we sign Ryan Fraser for a 5-year deal. Right? Now, 99.9% of the time, you do not pay that full fee up front. Yes, I know there's exceptions to that. Eden Hazard, they've paid a large amount of that fee up front. Cristiano Ronaldo, apparently Juventus paid the whole thing up front. Neymar is another one that was backed by the Qatari Tourist Board. That was the whole thing up front. Now, that's an exception to the rule. Majority of transfers are not paid in a full lump sum. They're paid over the length of a contract or in installments, whether that be over the length of the contract or whether that be 10 million up front and then stagger the rest of the payments over the length of the contract at their new club. Add into the fact that we have sold Ospina, so we're going to have £3 million coming in over whatever many years that may be, maybe £1 million a year for 3 years. So let's use Ryan Fraser as the example, right? We signed Ryan Fraser for a 5-year contract on a £25 million deal, and we pay him 80 grand a week for 5 years, right? That is what, £20 million in wages over 5 years, and that is £25 million over 5 years. That totals £45 million. So the way the media will work it to me, you, and everybody else that's interested in football and supports a football team is, oh, if Arsenal go and buy Ryan Fraser, that's their whole entire budget done on one player. That ain't the case. But that's the way it's portrayed by these media outlets. I won't name them. We all know who they are. They all put articles up every single day, every single evening. They update them every couple of hours with more absolute rubbish and scaremongering. Right? Now, if we signed Fraser this summer, Bournemouth will say, right, we want 25 million for him. We want 5 million up front. Put him on a 4-year contract, let's say. And, you know, you pay over the next 4 years, 5 million every single summer. Add the 5 million we pay up front now. So we've paid out £5 million. Bear that in mind, right? £5 million. The other £20 million is staggered over the next 4 years, right? He's on 80 grand a week, let's say. 80 grand times 50 odd weeks works out about £4 million a year, right? You're only paying that for 1 season. You're not paying the whole lump sum to him and putting it in his bank account for the remainder of that contract, are you? You're paying it for 1 season. So that is £4 million, right? Add that to the £5 million that we've paid Bournemouth up front for Ryan Fraser. Yep, that is now £9 million. Let's say his agent takes a little nice £1 million out of that. That's now £10 million. That still leaves £30 million budget. So do that another 3 times. You have now brought yourself £100 million worth of footballers. You've paid them all 80 grand a week. They're all on a 4 or 5 year contract, and all their agents are sweet as a nut and paid. So that is why I find it absolutely baffling that so-called football men, somebody that works in and around football on a daily and yearly basis, can't grasp the concept of how a transfer works when he's been involved in transfers over the years. He's had meetings with agents, his agent. He's had meetings with football agents at football clubs. And I just don't understand why he would come out and say such a thing. I just genuinely do not get it. The fact that so many millions of Arsenal fans around the world, and football fans, not just Arsenal fans, believe that £40 million will only buy us 1 player and we're done and dusted. That's it. We're fucked. It don't work like that, man. It genuinely don't work like that. Like I said, there is exemptions to that. And, you know, Neymar, Mbappe, Ronaldo, some of Eden Hazard's fees been paid a massive amount up front. But at the end of the day, it's not how it works for 99.9% of transfers. So Ryan Fraser would cost us, if we wanted to sign him this summer, up front with his agent fee, if we put him on 80 bags a week and paid 25 million in a fee for him over the contract, we would actually only pay out roughly 10 million pounds. So this 40 million pound budget is a complete load of hogwarts. It is bullshit. It is the biggest load of crap I have ever heard in my life. Last summer, we were told we only had 50 million pounds. We ended up spending 76 million pounds if you look at the actual total fees. But if you actually break it all down and actually look at the players we signed, the length of the contract, how much they're on, how much the agents took out of it, we probably did spend around 50 million pounds. So they probably got it right last season. But this 40 million pounds, they're saying it is 40 million pound, that's it, we're on pittance, we can't afford a player. When you break it down, last season and last summer, we signed 5 players. They're all on half decent money. They all came in for fairly reasonable fees, anywhere between a free signing for Lichtsteiner and I think it was 26 million for Leno being the most. But if you add up how much we paid for the fee, how much we paid for the wages, and how much we paid for the agent fee, it probably did total 50 million quid. And this is what they don't report in the media. Yes, we spent 50 million pounds. But if you actually look at the amount of money we actually spent on the players we signed in terms of total fee, total wages for the year, and their agents' fees, it probably went over 100 million pounds. So all this scaremongering needs to stop, man. And fans just need to accept, right, that we're a massive football club. And the way we're portrayed in the media is like we're Barnet. Yeah, and it ain't the case. It genuinely is not the case. You know, we're going to get rid of other players. Like I said, we've got nearly 400 grand off the wage bill straight away. If you add in Cohen Bramall and some of the young kids that have left as well, it probably is about 400 grand a week. Right now, 7% of 400 grand is a hell of a lot of money as well. We could have added, 7 million on top of that 400 grand in terms of wages for the year would also be a decent amount of money. You know, we can increase our wage bill £7 million every season. Now, £7 million pays for what? 2 players on 80 grand a week, there or thereabouts, just rounding it up. I know that about 8 million for that, but there or thereabouts, say 75 grand a week. That is 2 75 grand a week footballers, or one footballer on 150 grand a week that we can add to the squad every single summer and still be in financial fair play. That is before we get rid of any players off the wage bill. That is before any marketing deals come in, any sponsorship deals. Obviously, Adidas is kicking in. That's a £300 million deal spread over 5 years, is it? So that's 60 million a year. That then gets added onto our income. You add in the new Emirates deals for the kit and for the stadium deal. So now add that into the 7%, 7 million increase you can go as well. So, you know, I just look at this and I just think that, you know, the way we're portrayed in the media is like we're some tiny little dot in the footballing community. We're a tin pot club that are always skint and we're just struggling to get by. That is so far from the truth. When you look at our wage bill, we are competing with the likes of Man City. We are competing with Chelsea. We are competing with Liverpool, you know, and I just don't get it. I genuinely don't get how Robert Pires thinks we've only got £40 million to spend. Like I said, this is a guy that's been involved in football for 3/4 of his life, and the majority of that has been involved in professional high-end level football. He's been involved in multiple transfer deals over the years. So I don't understand how a guy of so much experience, somebody who's worked in and around our club for years, has come out and said, well, Arsenal got a small envelope, it's only £40 million. Why is he adding fuel to a fire that's already started? Because our fans are already in meltdown because we ain't signed anybody yet. We're getting linked to everyone left, right and centre. And one thing we need to understand as a club and as a fan base of a club, Arsenal have always kept their mouth shut. They ain't going to come out and say we're going to go and buy a player. So I don't get why every single summer our fans get into a meltdown. You know, if come the end of the transfer window, we've not signed a single player, let's have a meltdown. Let's go and protest. Let's go and, you know, try and get the owners out. But, you know, I just don't understand why everyone's moaning right now when we've got a new Adidas kit deal coming in. We're linked with players in the media. Again, the same media that are saying we've only got £40 million are linking us to players left, right and centre. So they're quite contradicting themselves because they're linking us to 150 million quid's worth of players every day, yet we've only got £40 million to spend. So which is it? Have we got more than £40 million? Is it the way I've just explained it? Is that how it works? Well, obviously. Or are we actually going to go and spend 100 odd million pound on players when the reality is we're only going to lay out about 40 million, like I've just said? So I'm getting fed up with the media, the way they portray us. You know, they're linking Man United, Arsenal to absolutely everybody. They're making out Man United have got money bags, they've got loads of money to go and spend, and we're just some tin pot little club that are just sat way down there somewhere that can't afford to go and buy a player. You know, and you know, when I see a club legend, Robert Pires, come out and say, oh, we've only got 40 million and maybe we need to promote some of the youth and this and that, it's just wound me up. So there's my 15 minutes worth of rant. But I had to say something about it. You know, at the end of the day, all summer I've read articles linking us to every man and their dog. Yet every single day, these same articles, the same journalists that are writing these articles are then sitting there saying we ain't got no money to spend. So I just don't understand what camp everybody's in. You know, I don't see why everyone's getting into a meltdown yet. There's still 7 weeks of the transfer window to go. We all know a deal can go through at 11 o'clock on deadline day. You know, we need to move players out of the club. I'm not stupid enough to sit here and think that this club ain't doing anything. I'm not stupid enough to sit here and think that we're not trying to get rid of some more of the players out of the club. And I'm not stupid enough to think we ain't trying to sign players. So I just think that, you know, when I read some of these stories, it's just complete and utter rubbish. But let's see what you guys think. Thanks for that, VP, and for you, Nick, as well. Appreciate that, buddy. Let's read some of these comments. Right, Joseph says, if we do have 40 million, it's not enough for high quality players for specific areas. Mate, I don't know if you joined late, but 40 million pound can pay for over 100 million pounds worth of players, depending on how much they're on wage-wise and how much their agent takes out the club. For those who have joined late, I will quickly run through it again. I'll bore the life out of the people that have already heard it. But I used the example of Ryan Fraser, 25 million pounds. Over 5 years, Bournemouth would probably say we want 5 million of that up front. So out of that 40 million pound budget, we've spent 5 million. 80 grand a week is 4 million a year. That goes off the budget as well. That's now 9 million. And then say 1 million for an agent fee. We have spent 10 million pound off a 40 million pound budget. That is on one player. We have laid out 10 million pound, because guess what? Next summer, we have to pay that out again, minus the agent fee. So a 40 million pound budget can go and buy you 4 players at 25 million pound on 80 grand a week. If you want to go and buy 2 players and put them on 160 grand a week and pay 50 million quid for them, then you can do that as well. So it's just all a load of rubbish. We haven't got 40 million pounds in terms of a total budget to go and actually blow on one player. That 40 million pound budget gets you more than one player. It buys you 2, 3, 4 players, depending on how much you spend on the fee, how much you negotiate with the club you're buying them for that they want up front, how much the wages you're putting the player on, how much the agent's fee is going to be. You know, all these things go into a contract. Obviously, image rights and stuff like that get put into a contract nowadays as well. You know, and all of this will come out of the 40 million. But you're not paying the whole lump sum up front for one player. It don't work like that unless you're Mbappe or Neymar or Ronaldo, and the club go, we want the whole lot. If you're AC Milan and you want Lucas Torreira and they say, right, here's 50 million quid for him, do you think they're going to give us 50 million in one hit? Do people genuinely think that's how transfers work? Because it isn't. We'll negotiate a deal and say to him, right, we want 10, 15 million up front. Then the remainder of the guy's contract at AC Milan, every single season, at the end of the season, 30th of June, 1st of July, whenever it may be, they'll then give us another payment, and then another payment, then another payment. You don't pay up front for a player. Very, very rarely nowadays do you pay up front for a player. So I think a lot of football fans in general need to understand that, because the way it's portrayed in the media is 45, 40 million pound will only buy us one player for 20 million quid on 20 million wages. It don't work like that. Yeah, that ain't the case. Right, let's get into some of these comments. Every transfer is completely different. Bournemouth may want 10 million up front for Fraser, and then another team will pay more up front to get the deal done. Exactly, Simon. That's exactly how it works, you know. Man United might want Ryan Fraser and say, right, well, we'll give you 20 million up front. Yeah, but then, you know, over the, let's say Ryan Fraser costs 30 million pounds and they put him on a 3-year deal or a 2-year deal or whatever it may be. They'll say, well, Arsenal are offering 15 million up front or 5 million, 10 million, whatever. We'll give you 20 million up front, and then we'll pay you 5 million or 10 million next season. You know, and that's how it works. You very, very rarely pay up front in one lump sum for a player these days. Do you think Arsenal should loan players with an option to buy? Says Matthew plays FIFA. What, loan them out of the club or loan them into the club? If it's loaning them out, I'd loan loads of our players out, mate. Some of these kids need to go out and get games. And I can't see them getting games at Arsenal, some of them. Like Eddie Nketiah, for example, I'd loan him straight out. Loaning players in, I'm not so sure. Maybe. It depends who the player is, but most of the players that are being loaned in ain't going to be great players. Do you know what I'm saying? Of course, we have more than 40 million pounds. We are linked to players reportedly for 48 million at Sampdoria. See, exactly. But there you go, Majid. Jesus, I'll try saying that when I'm not bunged up. But excuse me. But yeah, exactly. And this is the thing. This is what's laughable about the journalists in this country, is they sit there scaremongering saying we've only got peanuts to spend. Oh, they've only got 40 million. It's not going to get them very far. Man United have got 300 million. What a load of crap. Absolute load of crap. Do you think, right, that if Man United, who's Man United linked with? Bruno Fernandes, right? 60 million quid. De Ligt, 80 million. Do you genuinely think that Man United are going to go out and spend 140 million pounds signing them 2 players and go, pop, 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 there you go. There's 140 million pounds. We're going to give you that in one hit. Of course they ain't, man. Of course they ain't. Don't work like that. Sam Abrahams. No, I don't, mate. I don't. If we sign 4 players for 40 million each, that's 10 million a year. Where's the money for the transfer window next season? 40 million a year. I don't think it works the way you say it does. Okay, I'm making it all up, mate. Yeah, it must be. The way it works, firstly, I don't want to mug you off or anything because I appreciate you watching, like Davor, but 40 million for 4 players is 160 million pound. That's 10 million a year, you're saying, yeah? Per player, right? Where's the wages going in that then? Where's the agent fee in that? Yeah, mate, trust me, if you think we're paying up front for players in one hit, then I don't know what to say, mate. The reporting in the UK is a joke, says Sergio. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more, mate. The journalists in this country have all been in the job, the majority of them, for donkey's years, mate, since probably when I was floating around in the old man's sack. It's all the old Pals Act. They all answer the same generic question, ask the same generic questions in press conferences. How about get some fresh blood in there that are more up to date rather than the old hacks that are just absolutely clueless when it comes to quizzing a manager, quizzing staff at the clubs. You know, I just don't get it. I genuinely do not get it. It's worth remembering that we spent peanuts last summer and got good players, so 40 million may be enough, says Omar. Do you know what? Last summer, right, if you add in how much we spent on Socrates, that was what, 18 million? Leno, 26 million, so there's what, 44. Add in Torreira, that's what, 69 million, and Guendouzi. So we spent about 76, 77 million last summer in terms of a total transfer balance. That will be spread over the next few years. So when you look at it, we did actually spend peanuts last summer because we didn't spend out 76 million pound in one hit for 5 players, including Lichtsteiner. You know, we didn't spend out their whole wages for the whole length of their contracts in one season, did we? And that is how it works. You spread it over the length of their contract. If I signed for Arsenal right now today for 80 grand a week, that's 4 million pound a year on a 4-year deal. Do you think Arsenal are going to put 16 million quid in my bank? It don't work like that. The wages is paid monthly, not weekly as well. But they'll pay it monthly and it'd be over the length of the contract. That is how it works with a transfer. We go to AC Milan, we say we want Frank Kessie. Yeah, they say, okay, cool, you can have Frank Kessie for 30 million pounds. We're not going to go, right, we'll write you a check now then. It don't work like that. Don't work like that. Some cases it does work like that. But it don't in majority of them. Like I said, Mbappe, Neymar was sponsored by the Qatari Tourist Board to be the face of the Qatar World Cup for 200 million quid. That's why that deal was done and they paid the 200 million quid up front because they knew they would get the money back because that's how they bend financial fair play rules. Arsenal ain't doing that. So Arsenal are not going to go and shell out 60, 70 million pounds and pay the fee in one hit. Let's read some of these. Arsenal have just agreed a deal for Saliba, says Sam. I see that. I don't know how true that is, but yeah, apparently he's agreed terms. So not too sure whether he's any good or not, but I know most Arsenal fans are now experts on the guy, which is funny because we do this every season, man. And I know it's like probably the most exciting bit of news we've had all summer is that we've signed or trying to sign some kid from France, right, that nobody heard of about 4 weeks ago. But we could be in for a massive, massive fall because this is what we do as football fans. We get attached to a player very, very quickly, make out they're the best in the world in that position. And then when they're crap, we have to back them because otherwise we look like mugs. So, yeah, I wouldn't get too attached to that guy just yet because if it falls through, we'll all be sitting here saying he's shit and we didn't want him anyway because that's what football fans do. We could have got Mbappe for 750k. It goes back to the scouting system. If that's true, mate, that's mad. That is mad. He's probably had a medical at Arsenal somewhere along the line. Probably nearly signed him a couple of times to go with the long list of other players we've nearly signed. We have large payments for Lacazette and Aubameyang. Perhaps that is why the budget is 40 million. Thank you, Bob. Somebody who gets it. We will still be paying for Lacazette. We will still be paying for Leno, Aubameyang, and any other player we have signed in the last couple of seasons. We will still be making transfers in terms of bank transfers to Borussia Dortmund, to Atletico, to Borussia Dortmund for Socrates. Where did Leno come from? Remind me. I can't remember what club he came from, but we'll be paying them some money this summer. You know, and all of this gets factored in. With, you know, the money men at Arsenal are not stupid. We might all sit there and think they're stupid and they ain't got a clue what they're doing half the time. But let's be honest here, right? The way everybody goes on about the owner of this football club, like it's his fault. You know, it's not his fault we've signed a player on 300 grand a week. It's not his fault we rejected 60 million quid for Alexis. It's not his fault that Ramsey's run his contract down along with Welbeck. It's not his fault that other players have left for peanuts. You know, and everyone tells me he's all about the money. He's all about this. He takes money out of the club. He don't. He's taken 6 million quid in, what, 11 years? And I think what a lot of people fail to understand as well is the fact he has actually only just become the full owner of this football club. Whereas before he was just a majority shareholder. He is now full owner. Leverkusen. Thank you, Omar. That's where Leno come from. So, you know, a lot of people like to have a scapegoat, right? And I get that. I understand the frustrations of football fans. It's annoying when you see your club lagging so far behind other teams. And, you know, you're a big football club like Arsenal, and it is frustrating. But at the end of the day, you know, that is not down to the owner to go out there and do the tactics and do the, you know, the training and stuff like that. It's down to the owner to put the right people in the right positions at the club to make the club run properly. Now, that is the biggest fault Stan Kroenke has done. But again, it wasn't necessarily all his problem because he didn't have full control of the club. And I've been banging on about this for nearly 2 seasons now. It ain't him. Yeah, it is not him, right? And a lot more people are jumping on board with that and now starting to see, now that Gazidis and Wenger are not at the club anymore, that it wasn't Stan Kroenke that was the issue. And like I said, I've said this for 2 seasons nearly. Me and Kenny Ken have been banging on about this for 2 seasons, and everyone was laughing at me and Kenny, and everyone was saying you're clueless, it's all the owner's fault. The biggest problem that owner has had in the last couple of seasons is not sacking them two, Gazidis and Wenger, sooner than they did. Now, you know, why? I'll give you an example, right? You go and buy a house, and the house is 200 grand, right? You've got, I don't know, say £500,000 sat in your bank account, but you don't want to spend that £500,000 because you want to fund other ventures. You want to set up a business. You want to build another property somewhere else. I don't know, right? Why would you then go and buy that house for 200 grand and pay out the whole lot in one lump, which leaves you 300 grand, which means you now can't go and build another business somewhere else or build another property somewhere else. Plus the fact that the income that you're generating is going to cover the bills anyway if you do it on a mortgage. And the Emirates Stadium is on a mortgage, for those who don't know. It's paid off in 2031. Again, another thing that the media will have you believed is paid off. The stadium is on a 25-year mortgage, right? Roughly about £20 million a season. Now, why would you go and throw a load of your own money at that house, right, when the income pays the monthly payment or the yearly payment on it anyway? Why would you do that? That is bad business, because at the end of the day, you've just thrown away £200,000 on a house. And now, unless you sell that house, you ain't making any money. So I just don't get why people think Stan Kroenke's suddenly going to put a load of money in when we've mismanaged our money, which is not his fault. I just blame him for not properly overseeing it. But I've said this a million times before, right? When was the last time any of you see your company owner? Because I can't remember the last time I see mine. Arsenal can agree on personal agreements, but can't agree on transfer funds. Arsenal FC in a nutshell. It isn't Stan Kroenke's fault. A.f.c is a mess. There you go, Demetrius. Thanks for your donation as well, mate. A.f.c is a mess, right? And these people that are coming in and, you know, trying to fix this mess, Raul and Vinay. You know, we're trying to rejig the backroom staff. We're trying to rejig the high end people at the club that are involved in making decisions, buying players. A technical director, Edu, should be coming in very soon, and we're jinking around. Freddie Ljungberg stepped up today. I see Arsenal will put a statement out saying that Steve Bold's been demoted to under 23s. I'm surprised the geezer's still got a job. He's been here for what, 8 years now, and he was an assistant, then a coach. Now he's an under 23s coach. To bin him, absolute waste of money. But it's the owner's fault because he never questioned Wenger and Gazidis what they did with our budget. Do you know what? I make you right with that, Abdul Rahman. I hope I've got your name right, my friend. But yeah, I do make you right. But at the same time, he came into the club, and both of them guys were already at the club. They were already very well trusted at the football club. Now, obviously, like I said, he didn't take the full stake of this club until, what, a couple of months ago, 6 months ago, whatever it was. So he trusted them, and that was his biggest cock-up, is trusting two of the most bent and corrupt people in football, right? And that is the fact. He trusted two people that have fleeced this football club to the point where we are now doomed for the next 5 years, and people need to accept that we ain't going to go and challenge for a title for at least 5 years. We've been paying out Steve Bold 30 grand a week. For what? What does that guy do? The previous manager was nicking 11 million a year. For what? You know, his meeting for a pay rise was sat with Ivan Gazidis, the man that he employed. You know, it's all backhanders and dodgy dealings. And basically, soon as Stan Kroenke sent his son over to investigate this situation, he went, you know what? Whoa, what is going on here? This is fucked. This is absolutely ruined. And he sacked everyone apart from Gazidis, who then decided he's a pussy and thought, I ain't taking the can for this. I'm getting out of it. And every single person that was in a position of power in terms of running the day-to-day football team is pretty much all gone. So, listen, we can all sit here and blame the owner. Like I said before, the only thing I blame him for is not potting them two quicker. Lee, you were speaking too much sense. Thank you, Alex. But you know what? This is the thing. A lot of people get brainwashed, mate, yeah, by the way the media portray stuff, by the likes of Gary Neville sitting there saying the Emirates is paid off, sitting on Sky Sports telling the world the Emirates is paid off. No, it ain't. It's nowhere near paid off. In fact, it's only about just over halfway paid off. And this is the thing, right? Then that makes you think, well, hang on, where's all the money gone? We've sold all our best players over the years. We're paying roughly about £20 million for the Emirates Stadium. Our income's going up and up and up. Where is our money? You know, and I'll tell you where our money's gone. It's gone on bang average crap footballers that have allowed to run their contracts down. It's gone on a manager that was failing year on year and a CEO that did absolutely nothing apart from chat bollocks all summer. Are we linked to Trossard? Is he any good? I have no idea, my friend. Pretty GD. Good evening, buddy. We actually never knew the transfer budgets worked until you said it. It's paid bit by bit. Thank you. A lot of people don't know it. And listen, I don't claim to know everything about football, mate. But at the end of the day, I see it all over social media every day. We've only got 40 million. We've only got 40 million. We've only got 40 million. Arsenal have got a tiny little budget. Yeah. Then I see the meltdown off of the back of it from the fans online. Yeah, saying, oh, well, this is ridiculous. We can't compete. Blah, 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 blah. And these same people sit there and believe every single transfer story we're linked to. And it's like, you know, make your minds up, man. Like, are we actually going to go and buy a 50 million quid footballer when we've only got 40 million to spend? Or have we only got 40 million? And that's how it works. You don't pay the full amount. You might pay half of it. You might pay 20% of it. You might pay 30% of it up front. But add in the fact that you've got money coming in from players you've sold. Yeah. Add in the fact that your income is going to be split between the upkeep of the stadium, between all of the members of staff, including like the tea lady. You know, the wage bill gets factored into all this stuff, and then whatever's left out of all of these things then goes towards a transfer budget. You know, so I just get fed up with watching it sometimes. It's hard not to bite when I sit online, which is why I'm trying to stay off social media, trying to stay off Twitter, because I can't stand that platform and I so easily bite. So I'm trying to stay off of that right now. Let's read some more of your comments. Let's do another 5 minutes of comments and questions. God isn't enough to help us, says Abhishek. Love your content in general. Keep it up. Thank you, Briggsy. Sergio says, Lee, if I taught you a financial accounting class, if you taught a financial accounting class, I'd take that class. Nice one, mate. Cheers for your donation as well, buddy. Listen, I don't claim to know everything about football. I said that a minute ago. But I do know how a football club genuinely runs. Not ins and outs fully. I don't claim to know everything. But I just find it hilarious that we're linked to 150 million quid's worth of footballers every day, yet we've only got 40 million. So I think a lot of fans just need to take a step back sometimes and look at things and just go, do you know what? Maybe Stan ain't the problem. Maybe it was the previous regime. And I know so many people are attached to that manager because he was the guy that was in charge when you started supporting the club. I get it. I get that. Right? I don't like the guy. I didn't like him for a hell of a long time. Right? I appreciate what he done. I appreciate what he done in terms of the trophies, the doubles, the stuff like that, the invincibles. Right? But at the end of the day, that guy has set our club so far back that it's embarrassing. Right? And a lot of people don't want to accept that, which is why they will blame the owner. You know, Kyle Norton would sort our defence. Oh, you're a joker, man. Cheers for your donation, Bob. Appreciate it, buddy. 40 million on these days can get you one player, says Kieran. For those who have joined late, it don't get paid up front in one hit. It's spread over 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it may be, length of contract, payment up front, wages and agent fee. So £40 million budget can get us about £100 odd million worth of players, depending on how much wages they are on. What do you think of Emery recently saying that he preferred to play a 4-3-3, says Just Being? I'd be happy with that if I'm being honest, but if we're going to play that formation, we need to get rid of a couple of our midfielders because they're not good enough. That being Granit Xhaka and Mesut Ozil. They don't fit that system. In fact, they don't fit at the club. Let's be real. They don't do enough work off the ball. They're not good enough. And then we need to go and buy 2 top draw wingers, maybe another holding midfielder. So that 3 in the midfield, you need to have top draw 3. If you look at Liverpool's 3, how many people at Arsenal, how many Arsenal fans would take Jordan Henderson? Probably about 3% of our fans. That is the kind of guy you need in your midfield. Somebody who will run through brick walls for you every single game. The only one we've got in a 3 in midfield that does that is Torreira. And that sort of player allows your attacking-minded players, your wingers, like your Sanes, your Manes, your Salahs, players like that, Mahrez's, players like that. Them sort of players in that midfield allow your flair players to go and do the business. Away from money, Chilwell or Tierney, says Belua, the daydreamer. Preferably, I'd take Chilwell, but I think he's probably about double the price of Tierney, mate, because of the length of his contract he's on. I think he's on about a 6-year deal. So I'd take either if I'm being honest, but I prefer Chilwell. Hendo's work rate is sick. It is sick, mate. It is. They've got a few players like that. Milner's another one. Liverpool are looking to sign Son from Tottenham. If that's true, that's hilarious. Nelson is perfect to play on the wing. I agree with you, buddy. I agree with that. I think that Nelson, in the games that I see him at the Emirates when he's played, I thought he picked the perfect pass every time. He didn't just fizz one in for the sake of fizzing one in. He didn't take that extra touch like Bellerin and Kolasinac sometimes do. I thought that, I know it was in Europa League and stuff like that, but I just thought that when he's played games, he has looked a class act, and I feel like Nelson deserves a chance next season. It's sad that we have an owner that has no love for our club, and Man City have an owner who loves their club and spent over 800 million from their own pockets to build the club. Do you know what, right? It is a shame. And listen, I'm not a Stan Kroenke lover, don't get me wrong. I'm just not stupid enough to to sit and blame him for everything that's happened at this club over the last 10 years. The biggest two issues are now no longer at this football club. One of them is trying to fuck up AC Milan. The other one's walking around Waitrose still looking for a job. So, you know, I'm not stupid enough to blame him. But when you look over at the likes of Abramovich and Sheikh Mansour and you see the love that they have for their clubs, it is sad, man, because they have spent a fortune. And I've been lucky enough that I've been to Man City's ground a couple of times. And what they've done in and around that area is absolutely mad. You know, yes, the stadium is plastic inside. The seats are plastic. It looks like a car park, a multi-story car park from the outside, if you look at a certain side of that ground. But all the stuff around that, all the complexes and stuff they've done is nothing short of fantastic. And if I was a Man City fan, I'd be loving every single fucking minute of it. And if a big sheikh wants to come over and buy Stan Kroenke out, I am all for that. So, but I don't think we'll see Stan Kroenke at Arsenal in terms of coming to games. I think you'll see his son there a hell of a lot this season. I think that his son's probably going to end up with full control of it. Whether that be signed over to him, whether that be just the day-to-day running and just reporting back to his dad, because I think obviously he trusts his son. And after he had his fingers burnt with the other two that were in charge and his son going in and trying to deal with that, I think that he probably trusts his son to sort the problem out. So his son is a puppet. He probably is a puppet, mate. But you know what? Without his son coming and doing a 6-month vacation in England, we'd still have the previous regime in charge and they'd probably be signed up to new deals. So well, I suppose in a way you've got to credit him for that. Barcelona want money for Malcolm, no loans, says John Johnson. Is he worth the money? Is he worth 30 million quid? He ain't really cut it at Barcelona, is he? I don't know. I'm not sure whether he is worth the money. I know when he before he went there, he was very good. Was it Bordeaux? I think it was. His stats there are ridiculous. So, so yeah, I don't know. Right, let's do a couple more minutes and I'm getting out of here. I've got dinner to cook for the little one and the missus. So, why don't you start a blog? You are very knowledgeable. Thank you, Bobby. To be honest with you, because it is way too much effort to write when I can just speak into a camera, mate. For all the stuff I've said in the last 43 minutes, that probably would take me about 6 hours to write it all down, mate, and then proof it and get it out there. So I'd rather just stick it on camera, if I'm being honest. What's for dinner? I don't know yet, man. I don't know. I'm going to have to go to the supermarket and have a little thing. I might buy some steak or something. I don't know. Sell Mustafi. I don't think anyone wants him, mate. Would you bring back a World versus European 11? To be honest, I couldn't care less, mate. That sounds quite rude, but I couldn't care less right now. I just hope we go out and buy some players. And I do think we will buy some players, which is why I'm not getting the raging ump over it. These things take time. And like I said, just to wrap up, Robert Pires has come out and said we've only got 40 million and blah, blah, blah. And for somebody who knows the ins and outs of football, I'm shocked and amazed. Thank you, VP. That a guy with so much knowledge of football has not got any idea on how transfers work. I just don't get what Pires is banging on about. You know, and I'm shocked that he's even come out and said anything, considering he's angling for a decent position at the club. So I'm shocked. I'm actually genuinely shocked. Emil Smith-Rowe looked like he was on fire when he was being played. Do you know what, Herb? Yeah, I'd take Smith-Rowe in the heartbeat in that starting 11 because he'd run his absolute bollocks off for us next season. And he'd probably have more output than most of our midfield did this season just gone. Thank you, Bob. Cheers. How many players do you actually think we'll get, says Adam Aldridge? Personally, I think we're going to sign 6. I think that one of them will probably be that goalkeeper, which is a free signing, which is probably going to end up costing us about £500,000 because they got some sort of training clause or something where they've trained him over years or some crap. I don't know whether we're going to get Saliba. I don't think we will. I don't think he'll end up at us. I think he might go to United. But I think that we will sign 3 or 4 more after that. And I just think it's a waiting game. Listen, at the end of the day, Arsenal are not ever going to come out and say what they're doing. Yeah, those who don't speak and all that rubbish Gazidis come out with. So, you know, I don't think that we're ever going to change that philosophy at the mindset of the club. We're never going to come out and say we're openly in for a player like other clubs do and other managers do. But at the same time, you know, obviously with the Adidas deal kicking in soon as that deal gets done, in that first week after that, I expect deals to be announced. And if they're not announced, that's then when I'll start getting a little bit, hang on a minute, this is taking the mick now. Because we're coming into our first pre-season game very soon. I think we've got Boreham Wood very soon. And I know Boreham Wood ain't going to be a real test of where we're going to finish next season. But, you know, in about a month's time, we fly off to America. You know, the kit deal kicks in what, 2 weeks' time? So I'd expect us to have some of our signings, if not all of them, done in that 2-week window from when the kit deal's done to when we fly off to the US. So if it's not, then in my opinion, that's slightly poor planning, the fact that we haven't taken our new signings on a pre-season tour, because have we not learned our lessons? But I'm not going to go off on a mad rant about it. I'm just going to wait and see. And if the kit deal gets launched and then there's no signings in that first week or two, then I'll have a little bit of a rant about it and a bit of a meltdown about it, because then we would genuinely only have less than a month, 3 weeks or whatever it'd be by then. By the time we fly off to America, we'd have about, what, 3 weeks, I think it is, until the transfer window shuts. Now, I know you can get a deal done very quickly, but why leave it till last minute again, you know? So, I don't know. We shall see. I mean, are you going to buy the new shirt, says Chris. Yes, I am, mate. If they are the new shirts, the ones I've seen posted all over online, then yeah, I'll be buying all 3 of them. So yeah, I like the look of all 3 of them. The red one's my personal favourite, but that's because the yellow one didn't look great online. But I'm sure if they are the kits, then they'll look better in the flesh rather than pictures online. So yeah, I am going to buy them, mate. Are you doing a Q&A tonight, says Onion Head? Yeah, do you know what? I was going to do another stream at 9 o'clock for the near 600 people that are watching, another 9 o'clock stream. Obviously, I feel a lot better than I did over the weekend, so appreciate everyone who was sat waiting for streams and that, and they didn't materialise. So obviously, my health came before that. I was propped up in bed for most of the weekend with vapour rub all over my face and tissues hanging out my nose. So I still don't feel 100% great. I've got a stupid tickly cough now, but I will be doing a live stream at 9 o'clock. We'll find a little subject to talk about. Maybe we could talk about William Saliba. Maybe they were saying Kosa's broken by then. Maybe even Freddie Ljungberg. But I will be back at 9 o'clock. Thank you to every single one who is in the chat, has been in the chat, and has left the chat. Nearly 600 people watching. Before you all leave, bang a thumbs up on the video. Nearly on 20,000 subscribers. So getting very, very close to that. And at 20K, I will start dropping podcasts. Already got 7 or 8 people now lined up for a podcast. Individual podcast, not 8 people in one hit. It'll be a one-on-one podcast. So yeah, please whack a thumbs up, get the content out there. More people come to the channel, then subscribe. Once it gets to 20K, podcast drops. So I will be back at 9 o'clock. Thanks to the donations as well. Appreciate them. I'm going to go and cook myself a lovely bit of steak once I've brought it, and I will see you all later. Laters, peeps.